Beneath the soil, above history. How the potato quietly saved humanity. For most of us, the potato is ordinary. It sits quietly on our plates as fries, mashed potatoes, or a stew, rarely earning much attention. Yet this humble crop has done something extraordinary. Hidden beneath the soil, the potato has repeatedly stepped in at critical moments in human history, feeding populations, preventing famine, and even reshaping global power. In many ways, the potato has been a quiet guardian of humanity, never glamorous, rarely celebrated, but astonishingly powerful. The mountain survivalist, born in the Andes. The story of the potato begins high in the Andes Mountains of South America, one of the most challenging farming environments on Earth. Thousands of years ago, indigenous Andean communities domesticated wild potatoes in cold, rocky soil, where few other crops could survive. Frost, drought, and steep terrain were constant threats, yet potatoes thrived. This resilience was not accidental. Over centuries, Andean farmers developed more than 3,000 varieties, each adapted to specific microclimates. Some tolerated frost, others resisted drought, and still others matured quickly during short growing seasons. They also invented chuño, a freeze-dried potato, preserved by exposing tubers to freezing nights and sunny days. Chuño could be stored for years, acting as an ancient insurance policy against famine. For the Inca Empire, potatoes were not merely food, they were infrastructure. Roads, armies, and cities were all sustained by a crop that quietly turned extreme geography into abundance. The immigrant outsider, Europe's suspicious newcomer. The anatomy of efficiency. To understand why the potato succeeded where so many crops failed, it helps to look underground, literally. Unlike grains such as wheat or corn, which invest enormous energy in tall stalks and seed heads, the potato follows a different strategy. Nearly all of the plant's stored energy is directed into the tuber itself. The tuber is not a root but a swollen underground stem designed for storage. It functions like a natural battery, packing carbohydrates safely below the surface. This growth pattern makes the potato extraordinarily efficient. Less wasted structure, more edible energy. In practical terms, this meant farmers could harvest far more food from the same patch of land, even in poor soil or harsh climates. When Spanish explorers brought potatoes to Europe in the 16th century, they arrived as outsiders. Europeans distrusted the strange tuber. It grew underground, belonged to the nightshade family, and was missing from biblical texts. Rumors spread that potatoes caused disease, sterility, or moral decay. For decades, potatoes were fed to animals or grown as botanical curiosities. But hunger is persuasive. Europe suffered frequent famines, and traditional grain crops failed repeatedly due to war, weather, and poor soil. Slowly, peasants noticed something remarkable. Potatoes grew where wheat could not. Potatoes produced roughly 3 times more calories per acre than grain, making them one of the most energy-efficient food crops ever cultivated. Even more impressive was their stealth. Grain fields were visible, taxable, and easily burned by invading armies. Potatoes, hidden underground, escaped both soldiers and tax collectors. Families could harvest only what they needed when they needed it. In an age of heavy taxation, the potato became an unspoken tool of survival and quiet resistance. The revolutionary fuel powering populations and empires. The nutritional power pairing. The potato's power was not only agricultural, it was biochemical. On its own, the potato provides complex carbohydrates for energy, vitamin C to prevent scurvy, and potassium to regulate muscles and the heart. Whole milk, when added to the diet, supplies vitamin A, calcium, fats, and additional protein. Together, potatoes and milk form one of the most nutritionally complete diets ever sustained by humans. Combined, they contain nearly every essential nutrient required for survival, lacking only trace amounts of vitamin E and molybdenum. This was not theoretical nutrition. Entire populations lived, worked, and grew strong on this simple pairing. For the working poor, the potato also represented honesty. Before its adoption, many relied on coarse brown bread, often stretched with fillers like sawdust or chalk. The potato could not be adulterated. What you harvested was what you ate. Real food, unmasked and sustaining. By the 18th century, the potato began transforming Europe from the inside out. Its impact was not dramatic, but it was profound. A diet centered on potatoes, especially when paired with whole milk, provided nearly every nutrient humans need to survive. In effect, the potato was close to a perfect food. This nutritional reliability fueled explosive population growth. Historians estimate that the potato was responsible for about 25% of population growth across Afro-Eurasia between 1700 and 1900. Regions that had once struggled to feed themselves, Northern Europe in particular, suddenly supported dense populations. This shift had geopolitical consequences. Before the potato, global power favored regions with calorie-rich rice and wheat systems in Asia and the Mediterranean. The potato allowed countries like Britain, Germany, and Russia to sustain massive populations and standing armies. Northern Europe rose. Empires expanded. The balance of global power quietly tilted northward, powered not by gold or gunpowder but by a tuber. The Industrial Revolution depended on this foundation. Cheap filling food freed people from farms and fed factory workers. Without the potato, industrial cities may never have grown fast enough to reshape the modern world. The fragile miracle, Ireland and the science of blight. The potato's success, however, carried a hidden danger. In Ireland, much of the rural population depended almost entirely on a single potato variety known as the lumper. Potatoes are grown not from seeds, but from eyes, genetic clones of the parent plant. This meant Ireland's potato fields had almost zero genetic diversity. When Phytophthora infestans, a fungus-like pathogen, arrived in the 1840s, it spread with terrifying speed. Its spores traveled invisibly through damp air and rain, settling on leaves and stems. Almost overnight, healthy plants blackened and collapsed. Underground, the tubers themselves liquefied into a foul-smelling black rot, inedible, unrecoverable, and deadly. Because every plant was genetically identical, the blight devastated entire harvests at once. Crops rotted in the ground, families starved. More than 1 million people died. Millions more emigrated. The Irish Potato Famine became one of the greatest human tragedies of the 19th century. Yet from this disaster emerged modern agricultural science. The famine helped give birth to plant pathology, the study of crop diseases, and permanently changed how the world thought about monoculture, biodiversity, and food security. The genetic guardian, preserving the past to protect the future. Today, the world has not forgotten these lessons. In Lima, Peru, the International Potato Center CIP acts as a global safeguard. It makes a vast gene bank containing thousands of wild and domesticated potato varieties. Many descended from the same Andean ancestors that fed ancient civilizations. These wild potatoes are genetic treasure chests. Some tolerate extreme cold. Others survive drought, salt, or disease. Scientists now crossbreed these hardy traits into modern potatoes, strengthening the crop against climate change. As rising temperatures, erratic weather, and new pests threaten global agriculture, the potato once again stands at the center of food security research. From soil to stars, the future of a humble crop. In 1995, the potato became the first vegetable grown in space. Its ability to thrive in confined, controlled environments made it an ideal candidate for long-term missions. More recently, researchers have successfully grown potatoes in soil that mimics Martian conditions. This is not science fiction for its own sake. Techniques developed for space agriculture are already improving farming in Earth's harshest environments. Once again, the potato is teaching humanity how to survive the unthinkable. The quiet hero beneath our feet. The potato has never demanded attention. It has no grand mythology, no golden glow, And yet, across centuries, it has fed empires, fueled revolutions, taught science humility, and prepared humanity for an uncertain future. Hidden beneath the soil, the potato reminds us that history is often shaped not by the loudest forces, but by the most reliable ones. In a world always searching for heroes, perhaps the most important one has been with us all along. Silent, sturdy, and sustaining life, one harvest at a time.
It's time to study new words in context. 1. Indigenous. Definition. Indigenous means originally from a place. It describes people, plants, or animals that have lived in a place for a very long time. Example: potatoes are indigenous to the Andes Mountains in South America. 2. Domesticated. Definition. Domesticated means trained or grown by humans for use, such as for food or work. Example: early farmers domesticated wild potatoes so they could grow them as crops. 3. Resilience. Definition. Resilience means the ability to stay strong and recover after difficulty or hardship. Example: the potato showed resilience by growing in cold mountain weather. 4. Microclimate. Definition. A microclimate is the climate of a small area that is different from the larger area around it. Example: each valley in the Andes had its own microclimate for growing potatoes. 5. Matured. Definition. Matured means fully grown or developed. Example: the potatoes matured quickly before the winter frost arrived. 6. Tuber. Definition. A tuber is a thick underground part of a plant that stores food. Example: the potato is a tuber that grows under the soil. 7. Infrastructure. Definition. Infrastructure means the basic systems and structures a society needs, such as roads, bridges, and water systems. Example: good roads are an important part of a country's infrastructure. 8. Abundance. Definition. Abundance means having a large amount of something. Example: the potato brought abundance of food to many European families. 9. Nightshade. Definition. Nightshade is a family of plants that includes tomatoes and potatoes, and some plants in this family can be poisonous. Example: some Europeans feared potatoes because they belong to the nightshade family. 10. Sterility. Definition. Sterility means the inability to have children or produce life. Example: some people wrongly believed potatoes caused sterility. 11. Moral decay. Definition. Moral decay means a decline in good values or behavior in society. Example: some people feared new foods would lead to moral decay. 12. Stealth. Definition. Stealth means moving or acting in a quiet and hidden way. Example: the potato survived wars because it grew underground in stealth. 13. Scurvy. Definition. Scurvy is a disease caused by a lack of vitamin C. Example: sailors suffered from scurvy when they did not eat fresh food. 14. Molybdenum. Definition. Molybdenum is a small amount mineral that the human body needs to stay healthy. Example: our bodies need molybdenum in very small amounts. 15. Coarse. Definition. Coarse means rough or not smooth. Example: poor families often ate coarse bread made from dark flour. 16. Adulterated. Definition. Adulterated means mixed with something lower in quality, often in a dishonest way. Example: some bread was adulterated with cheap materials to save money. 17. Blight. Definition. Blight is a disease that damages and kills plants. Example: the potato blight destroyed crops in Ireland. 18. Pathogen. Definition. A pathogen is a tiny living thing that causes disease. Example: the blight was caused by a pathogen that spread through the air. 19. Spore. Definition. A spore is a very small part of a fungus or plant that can grow into a new organism. Example: the disease spread when spores landed on potato leaves. 20. Liquefied. Definition. Liquefied means turned into liquid. Example: the infected potatoes liquefied and became rotten. 21. Plant pathology. Definition. Plant pathology is the scientific study of plant diseases. Example: scientists study plant pathology to prevent crop failure. 22. Hardy. Definition. Hardy means strong and able to survive difficult conditions. Example. Wild potatoes are hardy and can survive cold weather. 23. Sturdy. Definition. Sturdy means strong and not easily damaged. Example. The potato plant is sturdy and can grow in rough soil.
Comprehension questions. 1. Why is the potato described as a quiet guardian of humanity? Answer. Because it repeatedly prevented famine, fed populations, and supported major historical changes without drawing attention or recognition. 2. Where did potatoes originally come from, and why was this region challenging for farming? Answer. Potatoes originated in the Andes Mountains of South America, a region with cold temperatures, rocky soil, high altitude, and unpredictable weather. 3. What is chuño, and why was it important to Andean societies? Answer. Chuño is a freeze-dried potato preserved using cold nights and sunny days, allowing potatoes to be stored for years and used during food shortages. 4. Why were Europeans initially suspicious of potatoes? Answer. They grew underground, belonged to the nightshade family, were not mentioned in the Bible, and were believed to cause disease or moral problems. 5. What makes potatoes more energy efficient than crops like wheat or corn? Answer. Potatoes produce roughly 3 times more calories per acre and invest most of their energy into the edible tuber instead of tall stalks or seed heads. 6. How did the potato's underground growth provide an advantage during wars and heavy taxation? Answer. Because potatoes were hidden underground, invading armies could not easily destroy them, and tax collectors could not easily seize or measure them. 7. Why is the potato considered nearly a perfect food? Answer. Potatoes provide carbohydrates, vitamin C, potassium, and protein. And when paired with whole milk, they supply almost every essential nutrient humans need. 8. Which nutrients do potatoes provide, and which does milk supply in the nutritional pairing? Answer. Potatoes provide vitamin C and potassium, while milk supplies vitamin A, calcium, fats, and additional protein. 9. What role did the potato play in population growth between 1700 and 1900? Answer. The potato is credited with about 25% of population growth in Afro-Eurasia during this period by providing reliable, nutritious food. 10. How did the potato contribute to the Industrial Revolution? Answer. It fed growing urban populations cheaply, allowing workers to leave farms and sustain long factory hours. 11. Why is the potato described as honest food for the working class? Answer. Unlike bread that was sometimes mixed with sawdust or chalk, potatoes could not be adulterated. What people harvested was real, nourishing food. 12. What was monoculture, and why was it dangerous in Ireland? Answer. Monoculture is the reliance on a single crop variety. In Ireland, nearly all potatoes were genetically identical, making them vulnerable to disease. 13. What is Phytophthora infestans, and how did it affect potato crops? Answer. It is a fungus-like pathogen whose spores spread through damp air, causing plants to collapse and tubers to rot into black, foul-smelling mush. 14. Why did the potato blight spread so quickly in Ireland? Answer. Because potatoes were grown from cloned eyes, there was almost no genetic diversity, so the disease affected every plant equally. 15. What major scientific field emerged as a result of the Irish Potato Famine? Answer. Plant pathology, the scientific study of plant diseases. 16. What is the role of the International Potato Center, CIP? Answer. It preserves thousands of potato varieties in a gene bank to protect global food security and prevent future crop collapses. 17. Why are wild Andean potato varieties important today? Answer. They contain genetic traits that allow resistance to frost, drought, salt, and disease, which are essential for adapting to climate change. 18. How has the potato been used in space research? Answer. Potatoes were the first vegetable grown in space and have been tested in Mars-like soil to support future space missions. 19. What central lesson does the potato's history teach about progress? Answer: that major historical change often comes from quiet, reliable solutions rather than dramatic or powerful forces. 20. Why does the author suggest the potato is an overlooked hero? Answer: because despite shaping civilizations, feeding empires, and securing the future of food, it remains humble and largely uncelebrated.